Welcome back to Death Curse Club for another interview. And today we have the director of photography, the cinematographer for VHS Halloween, the segment Home Haunt, Sean McDaniel. And I had a wonderful chat with him. We talk about the segment itself. We get into slight spoilers. So if you have not seen the Home Haunt segment or VHS, maybe watch that first, then come back to this. But it's a fun time. It's a fun conversation. Sean McDaniel for VHS Halloween up next on the Death Curse Club.
It's got the Death Curse.
Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. I am excited to get into this movie with you because VHS is like one of my all-time favorite movies, and this franchise has spanned over almost, 15 years now. And I guess where I would like to start with you is, like, what is it like to enter into a franchise like VHS? Like, is it kind of nerve-wracking to get into something that has a following?
Sure, yeah. I haven't really worked. Well, I guess I did a movie called Malum that was a reimagining of another movie, so I guess in some ways that's the closest I've come to what might be considered a franchise. But yeah, it's true. I've never really done anything quite like this. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that you're thinking about pretty quickly. And it was a great excuse to go back and rewatch all of them. And I did that myself and with the directors as well. Um,
Right.
and yeah, it does feel, I mean, you always feel like you're trying to serve the audience in everything you're doing, but I feel like even more so with something like this, it was an even stronger consideration, just thinking about what have people seen before, what haven't they seen before, and um, yeah, it was a lot of fun getting to join that family. All the team were great to work with. It was awesome.
And the writers and director of your segment, R.H. Norman? Norman?
Norman,
Yeah.
yeah, the Normans,
Norman
yeah.
and Michelin Pitt?
Yep.
Um,
Norman, yep.
you worked with him on another movie, Grummy.
hmm
So was that how you got introed into this, where they were like, "Hey, we have another project. We think you would be perfect for this"?
Yep, yeah. So I've worked with them on everything they've done. I've known RH since college, so we've known each other for a really long time. And
Nice.
then once they met and started collaborating together as well, then we just continued on. So yeah, we've all been working together for a really long time. So
That's
as soon as
great.
they were found out about it and working on ideas, we were already chatting. And so yeah, it was great.
How does the segment come to fruition? Like, how does Shutter or the producers of the film go, okay, we want your team, you guys have this? Because not that it's even in this kind of scale, but like where I'm from, they have the 48-hour film festival. It's like,
hmm
here's the thing, here's this, here's the idea, here's this prop, and like that. Is that kind of the format of this? Like, okay, you guys are the team, do your best.
Yeah, they find directors that they're interested in and they want to work with, and then once they have everyone, or I assume, or just as people are brought on board, they just let them know the theme, and then
Mm-hmm.
they kind of come up with a couple different ideas
Mm-hmm.
and kind of flesh those out to a certain degree, and then share them. And I think everyone just discusses and kind of tries to figure out what idea would be, the best. And I'm sure that they're thinking about all the other ones as well in relation to each other.
Right.
I know once everything is selected and you're going through, especially once they're all done, they're really great at curating and figuring out the best order for everything. So I'm guessing that that thinking is already starting, when
Mm-hmm.
they're just going through ideas and the pitches.
Mm-hmm.
But I know, yeah, for theirs, there was like a handful of ideas, all based around the theme, and then they went through and picked one, and then we were off to the races.
That's awesome. Now, for me, home haunt, like I used to have a haunters podcast, so I used to cover a lot of home haunt. So I feel very lucky that your segment is kind of in my wheelhouse
hmm
for it. And massive congratulations on it because I love it. This thing's like for the film itself, because it is an anthology film. There's different segments. There is like one through line short throughout the film, but your short, I swear to God, felt like it was 4 minutes long. That's
Yeah.
how fast paced this thing was moving.
Hmm.
And for you being the cinematographer, I imagine you're our view, you're the audience, you're holding the camera.
Hmm.
And I was wondering, did you have to like think about, okay, this is our first kind of little spoiler. There's a 1980s 70s vibe to the beginning of your story
Hmm.
where you have your camcorder. Do you have to film it differently? Like, as a cinematographer, you've gone to school for this, you've done so many movies. How do you, like, okay, I need to act like I'm a normal person holding a camcorder?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So that is definitely something that we were thinking about, like even before we started shooting. What camera are we going to use? What will give me the mobility? We knew we
Hmm.
had to be, on a modern camera system just because of VFX needs and just the
Right.
practicality of working on set and having everyone see what's going on. It's, pretty much all practical special effects with just minor paint outs really. And so that just means that there needs to be a lot of communication. People need to see what's happening all the time. So,
Hmm.
so we knew we'd be on a modern camera system, but then, I was really thinking about mobility, being able to have zoom options and have a servo zoom so that we could
Hmm.
match that feeling you get on for the VHS portion to have all those zooms that everyone loves to do with those cameras.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I was thinking about that shooting um, pretty much primarily on the zoom lens, shooting at deeper stops as well. 'Cause, those VHS cameras aren't going to have that shallow focus look that we think of, with a cinema camera. So having a camera that allowed us to shoot on higher ISO and allowed me to shoot at deeper stops. It didn't actually gain us much light back on the lighting
Hmm.
sense because I was taking all that bonus ISO and just putting it back towards shooting at a deeper stop.
Right.
But yeah, it was a strong consideration for everybody for the blocking, all of my operating. Yeah, I was really thinking about what each person too. Like the dad operates differently from the son. People have
Right.
they care differently about what they're capturing. So dad's a little better because he's invested in this, and the
Right.
son, is over it. So his operating, hopefully, people can feel that a little bit, but it should be subtle.
What's the physicality to do that? Because again, you being the camera positioner and holding and
Hmm.
running at some points, I imagine you're also wearing all kinds of gadgets on you while you're doing this. Did it take a toll on you?
Yeah, it's definitely a really physical shoot for sure. So I was wearing an easy rig, which is basically just like a vest that has a
Mm-hmm.
kind of a hard point that comes up and over, and then it's on a bungee so that it takes some of the weight off.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing with that is, I was really a lot of times you use that so you could still be handheld up on your shoulder, but you don't feel quite as much because the weight on your hips as opposed to your shoulders the whole time. But
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about our actor who is a little bit shorter, the younger guy, and so I was actually operating more in front of my chest the whole time with that. And the whole
Right.
point of taking the weight off was really to try to make it feel mobile. I mean, those cameras weren't especially large, and so the hope was
Right.
that all the moves felt as natural as you could make them with a smaller camera. But then with that rig and the sets we're in, once we get into the haunt maze, a lot of that stuff's pretty tight corridors and going through doorways and things like that. So a lot of it too, I just couldn't wear the rig because I would just be slamming into things. So some of
Right.
it is also just straight up handheld and trying to
Wow.
really make it feel like it's not, a heavy camera that you're swinging around. Hopefully it feels like it's a, fairly lightweight VHS camera.
Right, right. And I mean, you guys pull it off because I've never watched it. It was like, oh, he's wearing like the camera on his chest. Obviously, no, you guys did a really good job at that. What was it like being on those maze sets? Like they look way descriptive. I mean, obviously you gotta push it up for it being VHS, but like
Hmm.
as a home haunt, I mean, the cemetery look was great. The like the grave area was
The
awesome.
mausoleum, yeah, the
Yeah,
grave
the
area.
mausoleum. Yeah. Like how much time did it make to those sets?
I mean, yeah, the art team killed it. They had quite
Yeah.
a tough, job to do on this. So yeah, they were building ahead of time. We shot in LA as well with
Mhm.
Fun Size and Coochie Coochie Coo, and
Oh
so
wow.
we were all on like a little tag team system of Coochie Coochie Coo shot 1 week, and I can't remember if I think it was only a week in between, and then it was so a week for the next team to prep, and then it was Fun Size, and then a week for that team to prep, and then it was us. So we were the
Oh
last to shoot, and
wow.
our art team also was the art team on Fun Size, so they had back-to-back shoots. So yeah, so that was wild for them. So they had quite an undertaking, but they killed it. So they built all the cemetery set, the mausoleum,
Hmm.
the witch's bog, and then like the
Yes.
hut and all the stuff in the hut. That was all
Right.
sets that were fully built by the art team. And then we found some standing sets for the kind of the intro room, the study we called it, and
Hmm.
the executioner's chamber, and then that kind of stone hallway were standing sets that were kind of there, and then the art team came in and fully fleshed them out. But they didn't, at least they had something to start with. They didn't have to build from scratch.
Right.
But yeah, that was a lot to build, and they were having to flip some of those sets. It would be like we shot the Witch's Bog, and then we went to another stage and shot the Mausoleum. And while we were shooting that, in one day, they turned the Witch's Bog into the cemetery, which
Oh
is
wow.
a really impressive turnaround. That team just was doing a crazy amount of work, and it was so great.
What is the like process of time? Like 1 week's this. Are the days like 12 hours, 15-hour days?
Yeah, so all the segments were roughly around like a 5-day shoot, so
Mm.
a work week,
Right.
and then you have prep before that. So yeah, we kept tried to keep it to 12-hour days, really standard,
Hmm.
and the five, and then yeah, we were bouncing. I think a lot of well, yeah, a good chunk there was a bit of like, you're on stage days and then practical locations as well. So we
Right.
were mostly stage, but we were also out for the exterior stuff and the house. The house was all a real location and
Right.
antique shop and stuff like that. But it was great. I mean, it's great working in those sets like that. And there's a tiny bit of blue screen for some stuff later, but the
Hmm.
actual locations are all built or practical, and that makes it really great just to be able to shoot, 360 for something like this,
Right.
and for lighting, just to have everything there. And it's just a lot of fun to be in the sets, like running around with everybody.
It felt super real. Like you could tell this was a family, and for folks, we're going to start getting into a little spoilery here. It's about a family that has a home haunt, and this father has always had this relationship with his son, and they love doing it. We have Frankenstein, we got Igor, and then eventually the son doesn't want anything to do with it. So that he wants one more Halloween. They find this object, not to get too far in advance of it, but this object can bring monsters to life. And what I loved about it is the sets still have that home haunt feel, even though it does look like he put his heart and soul in it. But once the monsters come alive, that's when things get crazy. What was like one of the gnarliest monsters there? Like personally, the sheet ghost was pretty fun. That
Hmm.
wraps around, and we'll get into who it wraps around in a minute. Don't think I
Yeah.
didn't notice, but but I thought that was really cool. I do think the executioner was cool. Did you have a favorite? Like, wow, that's gnarly.
Oh man, that's tough. Uh, the Witch is pretty great. They're all great. I think it was fun to have, what feels like a classic green witch
Right.
that goes really hard and is,
Hmm.
killing children and cooking them up for real and things like that. I don't know that that's something we've gotten to see, but yeah, I think it was really awesome. Is what the directors want to do is like, let's take all those classic, Halloween archetypes that we think of, and they're especially done in like a really fun, campy way normally, and like let's make them horrifying, especially a sheet ghost, like that's
Right.
the most kind of basic, classic Halloween kind of costume,
Yeah.
and to have that be, one of our opening really brutal kills.
Yep.
Uh, that was kind of the whole goal, and I thought the makeup team just killed it. Everyone was working so hard, and to do the amount of, I mean, all the segments have so much going on, and ours has what feels like, I think, like a feature's worth of kills and gags and creatures, and we had to, cram it into 16 and a half minutes or whatever.
Yeah, I would have stayed in this world forever. The whole movie is fantastic. Like
It really
Halloween's
is.
my
Yeah.
jam, and I would I will put it out on Front Street. I think bar for bar, it's the best length and shorts, and just has a nice flow with all of them. I said it earlier in my review of like they're a lot that have comedy and horror, but there's one specific one that like the tone shift is so hard, and my wife was like, oh, I don't know if I can feel about this one, and I think you know which
Yeah.
one I'm talking about. but,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
It's a
I
little
even
back for, yeah, for sure.
yeah, and I feel like yes, you need this to kind of split it up, especially coming to you as the big finish. And speaking of big finish, speaking of Sheet Ghost, an actor in this, the cameo, blew me away. You have legendary special effects artist Rick Baker in
Mhm.
this film. What was it like shooting him? And like, hey, check out these special effects, Rick.
Yeah, it was awesome. So the directors are good friends with him, and he's actually the inspiration for the whole short itself too. So he put
Mm-hmm.
on a really great home haunt with his family, and I guess the directors were over there one year, and one of the older daughters was kind of over it a little bit as well, and was maybe done. And so that was actually what inspired the whole segment. So it was awesome to
Wow.
actually have him be a part of it, and he was the best. He
Yeah.
so great to work with. He's such a nice dude, and just clearly loves, still like loves being around, the making of movies. And
Mm-hmm.
he was popping in, checking in on makeup. He came in on a couple days because we were just kind of on stage nearby where he is, and so he was there even some days where he wasn't in any of the shots. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was really awesome having him on
That's
there and to have him be the
fantastic.
first kill. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. No, that's so awesome. I love that he got to be part of it. For prep of this, he does a home hunt. Your friends, the directors, they're doing research. Did you feel like you needed to do any kind of research yourself? Did you go through any home hunts, or have you ever? And you're like, okay, I think I can kind of get an idea of like what I can do, because they do get tight. They do get
Hmm.
claustrophobic in some
Yeah.
parts.
Yeah, I've been to. Sorry, my cat's about to jump
Oh
in
no,
here.
bro.
She's gonna make an appearance. Yeah, I've been to a few, like more home ones, and also some of the really impressive, professional ones that are
Right.
that are put on. And yeah, that was the biggest thing, honestly, for us. There wasn't a lot of like looking necessarily at other films. Really, it was looking at the series, the VHS series, and then
Mm-hmm.
looking at people's home movies from the 70s and the 80s and their home haunts and the decorations, and just trying to see, the textures and paying attention to, yeah, like remembering what it's like when people are shooting on those cameras and
Mm-hmm.
aren't shooting movies. Again, lots of zooming, lots of sometimes awkward pans and holding on things
Right.
for way too, for too long and things like that.
Right.
So, yeah, that was really those were the big inspirations. And our directors are really big Halloween fans. I'd say a huge amount, probably like 70 to 80% of the like decorations that you see, especially like in the house in the beginning, that's all their
Oh
stuff.
wow.
A lot of the stuff in the like secret room in the antique store that
Yeah.
he's going through, a lot of that is part of their collection. So
Wow.
they're steeped in it for sure, and so this was a perfect
How do
thing for
you
them.
feel
And
about that? How do you feel about that? Like, like
oh,
they
it's
they
great.
keep inviting you to these horror films to do.
Oh, it's great. It's so much fun. And they love building, these sets and really making sure everything's like done as practically as possible. Like, yeah, the last thing we've done together, Grammy, is very
Hmm.
similar when we were building these crazy sets. And it's so much fun to get to do that. Like if you don't always, it's not often that you get to work on projects that have these kinds of sets and give you these
Right.
opportunities. And especially in horror, you get a lot of opportunities to light a little more expressively and um, find a nice balance between a practical look, but also getting to do something that's pushing a little harder and working with more color and things like that. So it's great. It's so much fun.
Was this your first found footage version of cinematography?
There's for like a whole thing, yes. There's a little bit
Yeah.
movie I did, Malum has a little bit in the beginning and like a little bit throughout.
Okay.
Um, and that was shot on actually my old mini DV camera that I used when I was in
Oh
like
wow.
middle school and high school. So
Oh
it still worked,
wow.
and that was the footage for that one. But that was it's pretty brief in that, and it wasn't
Hmm.
trying to tell like an entire story through that format. So this was
Right.
yeah the first doing that. It was definitely very fun. It was interesting and like a great challenge. I mean, especially for horror, editing is so important for
Yeah.
that. And once we get into the horror beats of the maze itself, there's no cuts. It's meant to look like one unbroken shot. I mean, there
Right.
are. We did have to shoot things across different days and hide in edits for SFX and all kinds of things. Um,
Right.
but it's not like you have ways to cut away, to cut back to something, to build,
Right.
a dark doorway to build the tension, cut back to the actor's face. Those have to be pans, or you have to
Hmm.
figure out, the timing of all that stuff. So that's a lot of fun to work out, and it's a lot of um, extra work on the day on set. Like we always do really detailed shot lists, and then they're
Hmm.
both really talented artists, so they do storyboards for, sometimes the whole project, just depending on the length of it.
Oh
And so we
wow.
had detailed boards, and if you look at them, it's pretty close, but obviously there's still changes just because once you get into the rhythm with the actors and what the special effects team needs and all of that, you're kind of like trying to find the timing because there's no cutting away to anything. Like that whole take has to work, and that's a really
Right.
fun challenge, and it puts everyone on their toes. And yeah,
Yeah, I was wondering if like the script aspect of things, and I guess with the storyboard, it's basically telling you how how you have to shoot it exactly.
hmm
I wasn't sure if there was more improv because it is found footage, and maybe that's just me thinking, oh well, Blair Witch they only gave them notes or whatever, and like
hmm
I wasn't sure if that's something that carried on, but it sounds pretty much you guys knew exactly how you wanted to shoot it, and there was no improv.
for definitely for the once they get into the haunt maze itself, the
Hmm.
stuff with the family was really fun because that we it is all scripted and it's all there, but we did have like the especially the early section back in the 70s with the
Hmm.
younger Zach, we were able
Right.
to be a little looser. Like we had broad ideas, and it's scripted of like, oh, they're painting the witch head, and we're gonna see all the props for the maze, but we could let them, kind of do their thing, and they had a really great dynamic. That kid was so great.
Yeah.
Everyone was great. I mean, this I think we
Yeah.
have really great acting in the segment, and all of them this year especially. But yeah, so that was nice. So I'd say the first half there's a little more opportunity to be a little bit looser, and then yeah, once we get into the maze, it's got a very particular timing, and to be able to meet the gags and the different stunts and everything that's happening, it was really helpful to have boards. Everyone was clear, but
Right.
there's still some things that were tweaked slightly depending on you think something's going to work a certain way. You've even seen things in prep, but then
Hmm.
once you actually get in the space with everyone, all at that time things are going to get tweaked a little bit. But yeah,
Right.
it's pretty close. We almost have kind of a comic book version of the maze and their
Oh
storyboards,
wow.
but because they're just really great detailed boards, and so yeah, you can see it would play out pretty similarly if you
I
did a one to one.
and you said it was 16 minutes. That's what they wanted you to do. Is there an actual like longer version of this?
No, this is basically that's just what it ended up coming out to in the edit, but the script was actually a little bit longer, but it's really just
Hmm.
because of having to describe
Right.
what's happening. They were very specific, and I think it's really helpful to have all of that description because yeah, so much is happening with the camera as a character. You have to write a lot of stuff in there that you wouldn't normally have in a script. So talking
Hmm.
about the camera panning and seeing this, and then turning and seeing that, and it was a lot of language that you wouldn't normally have to put in there. So
Mm.
it definitely it was interesting because we started guessing after like day two. We were trying to figure out like, oh, how long is this going to end up being? Because it's like you think of, oh, it's so many pages, But then once
Right.
everyone's running through and screaming and moving so quickly, it actually it all compresses down. So, but no, this is it. Like there wasn't a lot of time to shoot anything
Mm-hmm.
that we wouldn't be using. So it's all pretty much in there. It's just read longer because of having just describe
Right.
the action and all the camera moves. Yeah.
Right. And you said earlier that like week one, this one was filming, week two, this one, and then you
Mhm.
guys were
Yeah.
last. Were did you ever go to one of the other sets? Like, did they need your help for anything? Did you get an uncredited like, yeah, I'll do this today? Was that ever
So
up in the air?
yeah, so some of the crew did overlap. So
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of the like the AD team, I
Mm-hmm.
mean the post team is it kind of carries through all of them, and obviously the producers and everything. So
Right.
we had a home base in the sound stages where we were shooting. There was production offices, and so it
Mm-hmm.
was really great. It kind of felt like film school again. Everyone was working out of those same offices, and
Oh
so
wow.
we were all kind of around. And like when we were prepping, they were building some of the fun size stuff on the set on the
Mm-hmm.
same stage that we would have been using shortly after. So I got to see, the conveyor belt and some of these other wild
Rad.
props and things, and
Rad.
get some hints as to, we knew the general concepts of all the other segments, but I hadn't read any
Mm-hmm.
of the scripts or anything. So it was fun to
Right.
see little bits of everyone's thing. And then all of the LA ones, actually, if you pay attention in the segments, we all shoot on the same street.
Street.
The
Same
exterior,
neighborhood.
yeah, it's all the same neighborhood. And so
Wow.
when we were scouting our nighttime for that street, Coochie Coochie Coo was shooting, so we did get
Right.
to pop in and see a little bit of their stuff when they were shooting. But we didn't actually like work on anyone else's thing, but it was cool to get to like pop in, see what people were doing, and like check in, and like they were already editing while we were shooting, so it was just like everyone was kind of always around and like checking in on people's stuff. And they came one of the days when we were testing the ghost spewing
The
the
blood.
blood. Yeah, so we were doing a water test that day, but we just had it out in the parking lot, and everyone got to come watch and pull out their iPhones and film this
Oh
sheet ghost just
wow.
spraying water outside, just so we could see
So
like how
cool.
far and what intensity
Right.
and all of that. So yeah, it was really great having everyone around and just like it's a great like community while we were all doing this. Yeah.
That's so awesome. And honest God, because like I said, I'm a haunt guy. Halloween Horror Nights is my jam, my
Mhm.
favorite thing. And I think, and I quote me here, you can tell the team, you go back and tell them, this movie deserves to be a Halloween Horror Nights house because
Oh yeah.
it being Halloween and you start with the Diet Phantasma and
Hmm.
then you go all the way and the irony of finishing with a house haunt.
Oh my. Yeah.
We got to
100% a
get this to
hunt.
happen, guys.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that would be great.
Have you ever been to Halloween Horror Nights?
I haven't been to the one here. I grew up in Orlando in Florida, actually, so
That's the one I
I've
go
been.
to. That's the shirt
Oh,
I'm
cool.
wearing.
Oh, nice. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. It's been a while, but I've been to that one. I'm
Okay.
so bad with names. I've been to it was last year. I got to go to one that's out. I can't remember where it is. It's in like an old house that
Oh wow.
kind of in a weird. It's like a almost like an office park area, but then there's this
Uh huh.
old house and a house in the back. And it was
Oh
the
wow.
last. I think it was the last. It was closing. I think they moved somewhere else. But you went through and they were telling the story of all the haunts that they had done over previous years. So like it
Oh
was like they
wow.
were all coming together, and it was awesome. It was a really good show. So
That's
I'd never been to
rad.
that, so I didn't know the context of the other stories, but it still was great.
Wow.
And it was a really detailed. It felt kind of, I would say, like this family's. Where it's like, I mean, this was like professional. This put on by the
Right.
whole company. But yeah, I think that the dad in this family is probably bankrupting his family, making this haunt maze. It gets it gets so elaborate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Sean McDaniel, I don't want to take too much more of your time, but VHS is on Shutter right now on October 3rd. VHS Halloween. Before I let you go, if you'd like to plug anything else going on, your Instagram, please go on.
Yeah, I'm just Sean M. McDaniel on Instagram, and Yeah, check out the movie this Friday, October 3rd. It's a blast. I think it's such a great segment. It's got something for everyone. Like it's
It
got like
really
you were talking
does.
about. There's a segment that feels like a throwback to some of the older, really brutal ones,
Right.
and then it's got some that are really fun, a lot of laughs that are pretty crazy, and then yeah, as much Halloween as you can ask for. Yeah.
I'm telling you, but between Home Haunt, Fun Size, Phantasm, Night Phantasm, like you guys killed this movie. I hope they will keep you back. I If they asked you to come back, would you come back and
Oh,
do it?
yes, absolutely. In a second,
Ah,
yeah.
that's
Such a great team
fantastic.
to work with. Yeah, it was such a blast. It was, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the show, and we will catch you next time, bud.
Great. Yeah, thanks for having me.